We're off to the races. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Izzy Contagious. I am with the Kiki Queens. We are Chicago's only live singing charity drag show. So we partner with different LGBTQ plus nonprofits around the Chicago and Chicagoland area, and we just help them raise funds by doing live singing shows. We do things like today's Zoom webinar, and we just help out where we can. And Center on Halstead is one of our partners. I'll talk a little bit more about the Center on Halstead in just a minute, but I want to introduce my amazing co-host. Her name is Michelle Patak. And Michelle, what's going on? You're like sitting in the dark.
Oh.
Did you not attend the first meeting?
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I didn't check my lighting before I sat down. My goodness.
That is so much better. You look gorgeous tonight.
Well, thank you. I am Michelle Patak. I am Chicagoan, born and raised in Bucktown, those of you who are familiar with the Chicago area. I currently live in Elmwood Park and have been part of the nonprofit landscape for about 12 years. And I am currently I work at Erickson as a project manager in marketing communications, and I am just thrilled to be here today to support the Center on Halstead.
Yay! So I want to tell everyone a little bit more. The Cyber Center is the Center on Halstead Center that provides essential computer access to the LGBTQ plus community, where users, they can look for jobs, for housing, they can fill out online census, you can take an online class, just to name a couple of the things that you could do at the Cyber Center. And for more info, you can email cybercenter@centeronhalstead.org or call 773-661-0730. Great. Okay. Unlike our first webinar, we realized that when we're on a webinar, you have different options than when you're on a regular Zoom call. So if you're like Zooming with your family or you're on a job interview, you're going to have a whole different set of options at the bottom of the screen. We did a little pre-recording of a bunch of the options. So as we talk with you and go over everything, it'll be much more easy. So for this, you're just going to watch us and hopefully laugh a little and learn a little. But then afterwards, we will have a recording of this video that you can then pull up at a different point in time, and you'll be able to follow along. Okay, so without further ado, our first section is going to be, I'm about to share my screen. Okay, so our first section is your basic profile. So say you go online, you're going to zoom.us, you've logged in, because we're in advance, I'm assuming you already have a profile, like you've signed up. Maybe you haven't filled it out or anything, that's what we're gonna talk about now. But say you already have an account. So everything today we're talking about is somebody who already has an account. I'm just gonna start playing this, and you can see my mouse magically moving around the screen. It's cool. So we're gonna look at our profile, and so you can see at the top is your name, and then you have an account number, your picture, personal meeting ID, email address, the user type. I actually have an account, so that's why you're seeing licensed, the meeting capacity. We'll kind of go over all these again, but just a quick overview of what's on this page. So let's say I want to change my name. I'm going to slide on over to edit, and I'm going to change my name to Izzy, because I don't want to just be an organization. I want to be me. So Izzy Contagious, I'll put my job title in, right? Drag queen. I work for Kiki Queens, always and forever, and I live in Chicago. So there it is. You can see it already changed. Oops, I didn't capitalize my I. So let's just go right back in there and make it capital I, Z-Z-I-E. Great. So the next thing is changing your photo. This one's pretty simple. You click on that. I'm going to upload a new photo because I want my beautiful face on there. Avi. And it loads up, and then you can drag and crop it. So it's so even if it's a photo of a bunch of your friends or other people, you can see this little preview up in the corner here, and you can crop just to your face, which is nice. All right, so there's my new photo. Yay! I accomplished it. I'm so proud. Okay, so next, you've got your email address. Here, you just click edit. So you've got your edits all down the one side. You can just change to a new email address. I don't want to change mine. Here, it's showing I'm a licensed account, which means I can have meetings. I'll pause. I can have meetings that are unlimited minutes. So, Michelle, talk about the difference between a paid account and a free account.
Sure. So a basic account, you only get 40 minutes for your calls. There is a workaround for it. There's really no need to pay for a licensed account if the only thing that you're looking to upgrade is your time. You can just do concurrent calls. So when your call ends at 40 minutes, you can just start a new call and people can just dial back in. It's mildly inconvenient, but not so inconvenient that you would need to pay a monthly fee in order to get yourself more time. And if you looked at the licensed fee accounts that Zoom offers, you will see that they go up in terms of meeting capacity. So once you start paying for it, they're all unlimited in terms of time, but you would pay more for capacity. So if you feel like if you have 300 friends, and you feel like you need to talk to them all at the same time, you would go up even another level past what you're seeing here on the Kiki Queens account to the 300 level. I believe it goes 100, 300, 500, 1,000.
Yeah.
Oh, you're right. You're right. It may jump from 300.
I don't know.
I don't know 1,000 people, so I would not talk to, actually, I may know 1,000 people, but I would never put them in the same room together. So,
I mean, Facebook says I know 1,000 people, so it must be true.
obviously, but I don't know that you want them all talking to each other. So you got it. Safety.
Cool. All right.
Seems
So keep along. I'll let you keep talking, Michelle. You narrate.
Okay, so there's your meeting capacity. It says right there that you've got 100 participants. And here you can edit what language. So if you speak more than English, then you can change that. If you'd rather read it in French, bonjour. You can change your time zone here, your date format if you prefer to see it in another format. Save those little changes. You can use a 24-hour format if you're military. Here's your sign-in password, sign-in device. There you go. All of these things that you can check out as you're clicking through the profile section.
I love it. So then there's this next one. I'm going to take it over. All right. So then this is one of my favorite things. This is connecting your calendar. So this is like a little more advanced. Only works with the following services. It's Google Calendar, Microsoft Exchange, and Microsoft Office 365. I'm guessing in the future they'll have even more integrations. So we're just going to walk through this. So here are my options. I have a Google account, so I'm going to go ahead and click Google. And then I'm going to allow access to my calendar and my contact list because that's literally what I want, why I would want to connect the two. So they talk to each other. I love it. It makes life so easy. So then it's going to ask you to pick an account. So I'm going to pick my Izzy email, type in my little password. Did I get it right? I did.
Drum roll. Woo!
And then it's going to ask you to confirm. Are you sure you want to give Zoom access to your account and your calendars and your dates and stuff? And obviously that's what I'm trying to do. So I did that. And now, voila, it is already connected. So it was just couple easy steps. It's really easy. And if you want to change the access that it has later, you can always change it afterwards without disconnecting the account totally. And that is that. I am going to go. We're going to stop sharing this screen. Let's see, what do we have next? Oh, scheduling a meeting. I'm going to pull up our next little video, and I'm going to let Michelle start us out. Hold on just a moment while we share our screen. Here we go.
Okay, so this is what the desktop app looks like. It's also what the app looks like when you're on your phone. And we're going to walk through scheduling a meeting. These are the four little icons you got there: new meeting, join, schedule, or share screen. This is the chat feature, which we've been seeing, so I know that most of you know how to use that. Okay, so this is a list of meetings that are already scheduled in the account. When you click into meetings, it will show you on the left-hand side there what you already have scheduled so that you don't double book yourself.
Look, I have a really amazing, it's a board meeting. Everyone loves those.
They're so much fun. And if you know the meeting ID, you can crash it.
Oh my goodness. Don't look at that.
Good times. We're all going to your board meeting. Okay, so these will give you the options for those individual meetings. If the board meeting gets canceled, you can go right in there and see delete it. You can open it to take a look. Here are the contacts. Lots of friends in the friend list there.
Uh-oh.
You can see you need to meet some people, I think.
I do need to meet some people.
But here's home. So you can start a new meeting. If you want to start something right now because you want to have a conversation with someone, you can just click that new meeting button.
But we are going to click schedule because that's the one that I love.
So if you're super organized, you can go ahead and schedule a meeting. in advance and pick the date, time, how long it's going to last.
Oh no.
What happened?
I'm so sorry. This is what happens.
Oh, it tells you can't view it anymore.
It got...
Oh, wait, click that little thing there.
Oh.
I think you just click that again. See it on the right side of you.
Oh.
Yay, yay. Okay.
All right, let's go back.
If you accidentally click that, we're going to, okay. So there's your new meeting button. We're not going to do that. We're going to schedule.
We know what we're doing, I swear.
Yeah. See how great we are at this? So you can type in a title there. If you don't change it, it will default to My Meeting, and you'll just have 8 My Meetings in there. But this will give you your options for date and time. You see a little box there underneath the date that says recurring meeting. So if you have a board meeting every month, you can click recurring meeting, and it'll just add one every month to your calendar. Right there. That's the one. Fabulous. If it's a one-time meeting, don't check that box, obviously. The meeting ID, you have a personal meeting ID assigned to your account, or you can use the generate automatically, which will give you a new meeting ID every time. If you check that little password box, you can require a meeting password. And as you can see, you can use the generated numeric one, or you can type one in yourself.
This is the password. It can be numbers. This is how you join the meeting. So you want to join the meeting with the host. Do you want to have your video on right away, or do you want it to pop on? Do you want to manually be able to do it? This is the same concept for the participants. I always say on for me and on for the participants, because that's the whole point of doing a video call for me. Then you can let people join the call with different audio options. So there's just the telephone, there's just the computer audio, or you let people do whatever they'd like with telephone and computer audio, which I think we covered in the first webinar, that if you do choose just telephone, no one's going to have video. It's all going to be just audio. The computer audio is the one that you can get that, but get just the way we're doing this. And then you have the telephone and computer audio, which I think is usually the best case, because you just don't know how everyone's joining a meeting. So I think it's the best way. Plus, if your internet drops out, it's really easy to join from a telephone. Here, you've got your calendar options. If you've hooked up your calendar, you're going to see this as options. So we just hooked up this to my Google Calendar, so I clicked yes to that. Then next we have our advanced options. So you click that little drop down, it drops down, and these are our different little things. Michelle, do you want to just talk about the waiting room just real quick?
Sure.
And what that is and why someone might want that or not?
Sure. So you see that there's an option there to enable a waiting room. If you click that box, what happens is your guests will be sent to a virtual holding place until you allow them into the meeting. I guess reasons that you might want to enable a waiting room are, let's say, for example, you're going to have your board meeting and it's an open meeting to the public, but you want your 12 board members to arrive first because you need to brief them on something that's going to happen before the meeting happens. You don't want your public guests trickling into that conversation. So if you enabled a waiting room, you could hold everyone who's a public member in that waiting room and only allow your board members in initially, so that you could have that quick conversation and then you can let everyone else in. For those of us who are traditionally tragically late to everything, that would be me, I would enable a waiting room because it would mean that people would be held in a waiting room until I arrived so that I could set up the meeting before they all joined. Although generally what happens is if the host doesn't arrive first, you get like a spinning wheel that says the meeting will start when the host arrives. It's not necessarily critical to have a waiting room. The drawback of using a waiting room is that if you are not paying attention, like myself, you could end up leaving people in a waiting room. So let's say the meeting starts at 7 and I've invited 50 of my friends to a virtual cocktail hour, and at 7 o'clock I let 20 people in and we start drinking and I'm not paying attention and I've left 5 people sitting in the waiting room. They're not having a great time in the waiting room because they don't get to talk to each other. They're just sitting there in no man's land. Meanwhile, they could be texting me to let them in, but I'm not paying attention because I'm making drinks. So that's the drawback, in my opinion, of having a waiting room, is that you have to be really paying attention to what's happening to let those people in.
Mm-hmm. Then build on what Michelle just said about the enable. I always like click enable join before host because sometimes I'm running late also because this takes time. So I like to enable join before the host if it's a social call. Like a family meeting, or like I have a weekly family meeting and it's so fun, but I'm usually late. So I like to enable join before me so they're not just sitting on there waiting for me to show up. Yeah, so that's the other reason. You can also choose to mute people upon entry. You can have this one only authenticated users, and that basically means only people who have set up at least a free account on Zoom already. So that might be most of your users, but it depends on the level of security of the type of meeting you're having, whether you'd want to choose that. If it's a work meeting, you might want to choose that. If it's social, it's not as important, I don't think. Michelle, would you agree?
Yeah, that's really a security issue. If you absolutely have to know who's on the call for some reason, let's say you promoted your Zoom call publicly on Facebook and put the meeting out there, you might want to authenticate your users so that you know who's in the room with you.
Yeah, totally. All right, so then we've got, you can automatically record. I always like to record locally because if you have, especially if you have a free account, you have very limited storage in the cloud. So it's great to just record it locally, I think. So I hit schedule. Oops, it jumped ahead of me already. Okay, so I hit schedule. I was like, yes, I'm ready to go. And then it automatically, because I chose the Google option, said, which account do you want it to log into? So I log into my account. I'm doing Izzy. And then it'll bring me right into my meeting setup. And right here, I can just edit all the details. I can add guests, like my good friend, Nita Bevy. I always like her to come to my meetings. So you can just add your guest right there. And then when you're done, you save it. And voila, you can see it sitting right on my calendar right there. Da, 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 da.
Yay!
I know. Oh, I'm going to show you, like, I made that meeting, right? And then you can see, you come back, I can click my meetings tab, and you can now see that the meeting that I created is now living right there. And then I can also copy the invitation. I can start the meeting right away. I can delete it, edit it. You have your options of what to do right there. There you go. This is the information I'm always wanting to copy and paste so I can send it to people in emails. That's how I get the join me. All right. I think the next part is going to be how to schedule a meeting online. Yep.
We're going to do the exact same thing, but we're going to do it from the online version instead of from the app. So you see that there's that schedule a new meeting button at the top there. Oh, we're seeing the meetings that are already scheduled. So you want to come here, you want to check and make sure that you're not about to double book yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, these are on my previous meetings, the meeting templates. Wow, I never even made a meeting template. That's exciting. But here we can schedule a new meeting. Again, you might want to change your topic title. Otherwise, you'll just have a string of my meetings and you won't know what the meeting was about. Description here, very descriptive. You can pick your date and time and the duration of the call, although it doesn't cut you off at the end of that. It's just, I think it's just a gauge. You can make it a recurring meeting there. You can make registration required. And here's where you decide about your meeting ID and your password, just like we discussed in the other version of this. Yep, great. And here are your meeting options that we've already discussed right here. It's completely the same. It's just you can do it online at zoom.us versus being in the app.
And then I just follow again. You can click on that little Google Calendar and it's going to instantly sync up with my calendar just like it did before. If you want to just get it in there so you don't have to make an event. And there's my meeting too.
It is. Look at all your meetings.
I know. I'm so busy.
Gal.
Oh, who doesn't love Zoom meetings? They're so much better than conference calls. Y'all remember conference calls? They're the worst. These are so much better. Oh, I'm going to delete this one though. So see how easy it is to like create them, delete them. Don't be afraid to click around in there. Don't be afraid to, like, if you cancel it, delete it. You can just make it again. It's not that hard. Pause our share for a second. Are you seeing us large now? So let's resume the share. Great. Stop that share.
There we are.
There we are.
Now we're nice and big.
All right, great. If you want to start a meeting now, let's show you that one. I'm going to share my screen again. So many screens to share. Click on. There we go. Share screen. All right, so here we are back to our good old online dashboard. So this is your at zoom.us that you've logged in. You can see my little pictures up there. So here, this is going to be if I want to start a meeting right now. So I'm going to go over to host a meeting, and I'm going to choose how do I want to, do I want to start with the video off, with my video on, or maybe I just want to share only my screen and I don't want to be on it. So I'm going to choose video on, and then it's going to say, do you want Zoom to open? I always click yes. So I'm going to open my Zoom. And there's the meeting. So it pops in, it was out of the, I had to pull it back in so you guys can all see it. But here's the meeting, it started. You can see your normal selections down at the bottom. And it's pretty simple. And that's how you can do it from online. You can also do it right from here, which I guess only if you have a paid account can you do it from here. So you do the same process, just click it, and then you're good to go. The meeting starts.
Now that orange button is there if you have a free account as well.
Oh, is it?
I would show it to you, but it just says back to meeting because I'm in a meeting.
Got it. Yeah. So this one says this is the other place you can do a meeting. You can also choose to copy the invitation right there, change your settings, get your personal ID. You can start with video.
That would start you with no video.
Yeah. So like see this little X over it means no video. All right. So let's stop that one. That one's pretty, starting the meeting like automatically is a pretty like simpler one. It makes me happy. Now we're moving into some settings. I've seen it, I'm a little parched, sorry.
It's important to stay hydrated.
Oh, with my Kiki Queens mug. And it's pink, like my hair and my face.
Shameless plug.
That's right, girl. All right, so we're gonna go into settings. So these are settings in the native app. So that means like on the desktop app. I'm gonna let Michelle, should I start? Do you wanna start, Michelle?
We can tag team it.
Where is it? Here it is. Share, all right. Here's our screen. So you've clicked on your settings, which is this little guy up in the corner. You'll see it either here or if you're on the main screen before you're in a meeting, that's where your settings are. A lot of these settings that pop up are also the same settings that are in the online version. So if you're at zoom.us and you go down to settings, you're gonna see all of these settings. They're just laid out differently. So we're just starting with basic settings. And I'm gonna let Michelle talk about our first little go of settings.
Oh, sure. You're going to set me up for dual monitors. Great. You can see there that you have options to use dual monitors. You can enter full screen when you're starting or joining a meeting. So you make that decision. I generally don't because I usually need to get at other stuff on my desktop. Automatically copy invite link once the meeting starts. That's a good call. Ask me to confirm when I leave a meeting. Probably not a bad idea. It's pretty easy to accidentally leave your meeting if you click that little red leave box.
It is.
The confirmation, yeah, and then you're out of the meeting. Ask for a confirmation is probably a good idea. Show the meeting duration. I guess you'd need that if you just want to prove how long people can talk.
If you have a free account, because you can show the meeting duration. So
right, yes.
Real close
Correct.
to 20 minutes where you want to stop it and then start it again.
It does, the free account does give you an indicator when you're down to 10 minutes, and then everybody starts to panic and they don't know how to talk because they feel like they're time crunched even though you just started their meeting. I'm speaking from experience here. Okay, add your Zoom to your Mac OS bar. That's only gonna work if you're doing this on a Mac.
Oh.
That's not gonna be an option if you're on a PC. Stop video and audio and my display is off. Sure. I can't really think of an application for that, but I guess that's probably they wouldn't give you the setting if it wasn't important.
Right?
And remind me, good, reminders are good. I have lost track of time and missed the beginning of a meeting. Here's your theme. You can go dark. Use a system setting, light, cool. Look at that. You can choose your reaction skin tone.
Isn't that great? I love that.
It's great.
I love it. All right. Ooh, next we're on to video.
Awesome.
All right, I'll chat about video. This is the one that I think everyone wants to know about a lot of times because this is like how everyone's seeing you and such. So I'll kind of go through the options real quick. We've got our 16:9, so that's a widescreen, so it's more rectangular this way. And original ratio is going to be a little bit more like an old television versus a new television. I think it's a great
square.
Right, more square, like more of a square, and then widescreen is going to be like your new, like wider flat screens or monitors which I think most of us are on. I think all the monitors at the Cyber Center are 16:9 ratio. Then you have your option to enable your HD, which is just if you've got a great internet connection, that's a good one. But if you have a slow internet connection, it actually would be better to uncheck that so it doesn't take up the bandwidth, and it'll stop you from being as like jerky, like pixelated or jerky. Just gonna keep going down. We touch up our appearance, and then it shows me some options for in the meeting. I always like to have everybody's name showing, so I always click display all the names. I turn my video off when I join meetings. Sometimes I turn it on. I like the preview dialogue sometimes. That's really great if you want to join with your video on, but you want to make sure that you look, Michelle, when you join, you want, or me, but if you want to look done and lit, you want to click that because that gives you a little preview before it pushes you into the meeting. Sometimes I hide the non-video participants. That means if you're just seeing just their picture or like their name. Sometimes if there's a lot of people in the room, I just hide the non-video ones because then it'll make all the rest of the squares bigger. Sometimes you'll end up with like really small little pictures because there's a ton of people that are not on video. We have a spot your video when you're talking, so that's just for you. It will make your video large when you're talking. I would not want to look at myself that large when I'm talking, but to each their own. And then you can have up to 49 participants in a gallery view. So it's kind of that. And then advanced, there's only like 2 little things. It's enable denoise, so that's gonna help smooth out your picture a little bit more. And then the enable hardware acceleration for receiving videos is just helping your processor that's in the computer process the video that's coming in better. So I like to have that checked also. And those things are checked by default. I didn't go in and change those. So those are defaults in the video section. All right, and then I have another video before we move on to that one, and this one's a little scarier. So get ready, everyone, for
Dun, dun.
dun, 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 my wig head. So I was making these videos, and I didn't feel like doing this to make this example for you all. So I used my wig head. So when you're in the meeting, so you can see how I stopped my video, so you can see my picture. This is what it would have looked like if I stopped my video. But I'm going to turn it back on to my friend. We'll call her Eliza. And then you can go to video settings. And so here you can actually see what happens if I take off my HD. It's hard to tell because her skin is smooth like a doll. So you can't tell the difference if it's HD or not.
This is a great skincare regimen. It's great.
She does. That is, okay, this next one, Mirror My Video, is one of my favorite ones. As you can see, it flips the video back and forth. And what's great about that is when you click mirror your video, it doesn't mirror it for other people. It only mirrors it for yourself. So it's great. You know how when you're on a Zoom call and you're like trying to touch your hair on the right side of your head, but you're like doing it from the other side? It's really weird. This actually makes it so you're seeing yourself the way you normally do if you're like in the bathroom looking in the mirror. I also like to touch up my appearance because who doesn't? So I always like to click that one. Although I will say a little word to the wise, when you're touching up your appearance, it looks much better if you're lit really well. If you're not lit well and you choose touch up appearance, it's gonna make you really blurry. It'll give you like the Barbara Walters filter.
It's called soft focus.
Yes.
Soft focus.
Very soft focus. So if you're in the mood for soft focus, that's the one to pick. All right, so then this is the one everyone wants. Virtual backgrounds. Yay! All right, so this is just how to do it. You click on the virtual background, and I'm gonna just click through, and it will automatically cut out around me, which is crazy how it does it. It'll cut around me, and then I can upload pictures. So it comes with a few pictures, like San Francisco or the grass. I uploaded a happy birthday one, so you can see that in there. Although it does appear backwards, again, it only appears backwards to you if you're mirroring the video. It doesn't appear backwards to everybody else. Then they also have a couple, you can actually upload a video background. So this is the one I decided to save so you guys can see it. So I just wanted to go to the beach. So there's me at the beach. And you can see the video happening. So there, you can see that it's definitely cut out around her face a little. And I'm gonna stop sharing my screen a second so we can show you some live stuff. I'm gonna stop sharing this for a moment. So if your computer doesn't have the right kind of video card or graphics card, you can't use virtual backgrounds. So sometimes if the computers are older, or not even older. Sometimes they just don't allow it. So it really depends on your device. So not all devices are going to allow this virtual background, but a lot of them will, like desktops and laptops and such. So what Michelle is showing you, we just want to show you some like
what not
to do moments.
I find if you're on a call with your friends and the point is to be silly and the point is to get everybody to laugh, that's one thing. And this backdrop would be fantastic for that purpose. If you're using this for a professional reason, I highly advise against using a virtual backdrop. The problem is that it's a crapshoot based on your lighting and based on what background you choose. So you can see like here, right here, that you're seeing like my couch in my living room because it can't really sense where I end and where the backdrop should start.
Or like when you pick up your cup and it's floating.
Yeah, your hand can go away. Like you can drift in and out. And especially if you have more than one person in your screen. So.
I have an example for that. So I brought my friend.
Hooray!
But you can see she's having a hard time being seen. So then it doesn't, I would definitely not recommend virtual backgrounds when there's two people because sometimes that one person disappears.
Correct.
So I'm gonna put her away, unless she's real scary.
Beyond that, the busyness of what you're seeing behind me can be distracting if you're trying to accomplish something professionally. The other thing that I've seen done actually shockingly more times than I would think is that people like to put themselves in their own background. And again, you're like drifting in and out of your own face. It's weird. Or you're blocking part of your face, so you're only seeing some of the face. It's just kind of a weird, bizarre thing. So I would hesitate to use a virtual backdrop in a professional setting for any reason. Save that fun for your friends and your family. The happy birthday stuff is great, and we had several birthdays that were themed, so we were able to bring some thematic stuff into the background, which is really great because as you can see when you're in a video call, you're only seeing like this much, so you can't like dress up in costume or do fantastic things that are not going to be seen here.
So
the virtual backdrop, yes, virtual backdrop is a big help in that regard, and it's a way more casual environment. So that's just my 2 cents.
Yes, I love your 2 cents. And I'm gonna let you keep talking about audio next.
Oh
wait, I gotta share the screen.
I could make stuff up, but your video would be helpful.
It would be helpful. There it is.
There it is, audio. I have on my computer a couple of different sets of speakers, and so when my laptop is set up with my external monitor, it automatically switches to a different set of speakers. So I find sometimes that I can't hear things. I have to go into these settings to pick which speakers I want. This will also allow you to test your volume output. So if it's not loud enough, there's an internal volume control. A lot of people are looking at the volume control on their computer and they're wondering why it's not loud enough. Zoom also has an internal volume control. So sometimes you need to check both of those things. It lets you test your speaker and your mic, which is very helpful. And I do tend to use about a half-mast setting. It is incredibly loud when it's all the way up. But this also lets you look at this fabulous thing at the bottom here where it says press and hold space key. You can utilize that if you, like me, have a yippy little terrier who likes to jump up on the couch and bark in the middle of your Zoom calls. You can utilize the space key to mute and unmute yourself.
Awesome.
That's pretty
all right. So then there's also these advanced features with the sound. I don't use them often. One thing I do like to do is I like to disable my intermittent background noise, because that's when you're on a Zoom call and you hear people's voices go in and out. That's when the computer is trying to mute a dog barking or a door shutting and things like that. So I like to disable my intermittent background noise because I want to make sure everyone can hear me nice and clear. Yeah, so now there's that what Michelle was talking about, the speakers. You can choose your speakers up here, and you can choose your microphones. So if you want to get real fancy, you can have speakers and microphones and all of everything. Share screen settings. These are just some basic settings. They're super self-explanatory. One that I like is the side-by-side mode. That's right here. That's when somebody's sharing a screen, like I am right now. And if I've chose side by side, I'll see all the participants in the call on the right side panel, and I'll see whatever somebody's sharing on the left. So I love side by side mode for me when we're doing like work stuff. We have advanced. This is like show that green border that helps you what window you're actually sharing, which is super important sometimes. Only you see the green border, but it helps. So we have our chat, and so we've talked about chat before. You just chat back and forth to people. You can chat privately or to the group, but know that the host can see the entire chat when the call's over, even if you chatted privately with somebody else. So Michelle had that awesome example about her and her sister like trash talking someone else in their family. So these are just different options for your chat. And it's really preference. A lot of these are just preferences. One thing I thought was cool was receiving notifications for keywords. So if you're in a large group and there's like a lot of people chatting, you can type in keywords that will notify you when those words have been typed. So if I type in like Izzy and Michelle, drag queens, Zoom, then anytime somebody says one of those words, it's going to give me personally a notification. So then I can check the chat, because if there's so much chat going on, I'm not going to just sit there and read the chat. Recording, this is just if you're storing your recording, like where do you want to save it? Again, with where different kind of settings on the recording. Profile, these are all the settings. If you click this edit my profile, that's going to bring you back to the online version that we already went through at the beginning of this webinar. This is the section Michelle has never used, and neither have I. So these are
there it is.
There it is. It's called the stats. So it's just your stats of like what your computer core is, what the memory is, and you could figure out like if your video is always really choppy or you can't do virtual backgrounds, this will probably tell you what you have, and you could Google and see what you need to upgrade, things like that. It's definitely more on the complicated side, but could be good if you need to troubleshoot. This is keyboard shortcuts, which I'm sure a lot of people have seen. Like on a Mac, I hit like Control S to save a document, but like basically you can see all these things and you can actually change what the shortcuts are. So if you're like a master Zoom user and you're in there all the time, you might want to create some shortcuts for things that you're always trying to find in the menu, and this would just get you to those things right away. And then we have accessibility. So if you do have closed captioning, you can make it larger and smaller.
Wow, so I could use Zoom without my glasses. That's great.
Okay, so for the recording stuff, there's a couple options. So you can set up to record before the meeting, so it automatically records. And then when you do it before the meeting or during the meeting, you're choosing where it goes, where it's either going to the cloud, which is just like a data storage place. So imagine like Google Drive or Dropbox, but Zoom has their own data storage, basically. So it's going to go there. You can download it later, or you can choose to have it record right to your computer. And so that's what I usually tend to do if I'm on my own personal computer, because I want to be able to have the recording, and I don't want to eat up too much of that memory that's in the cloud, because they're going to limit how much you have, and then you're going to hit a limit, and they're going to give us some money. You want more storage, don't you? So that would be like the big difference between the two. Our next little section we're going to go fast because we went through a bunch of it already on the last call. This is going to be about all the basics. Where's my window? So here is, let's say we're in the meeting. This is what everything looks like when you're in the meeting. We'll just go through it quickly. Up in the top left, you can see meeting information. You can copy the link to send to your friends. This gives you right to the stats, that little arrow, that little shield with a plus. That's a check mark. I swear I'm only drinking water. I swear. And then we've got your mute button, so you can turn your mute on and off. And then if you need to, you can go right from there and you can see your options. So switch your microphone or switch your speaker. You can go right into your audio settings if you need to adjust something. Because if people, that's a good thing. Like if people are telling you you're too quiet, you want to go in there and adjust your speaker setting. If people are telling you too loud, you want to turn it down. Or if everyone else sounds really quiet, you can turn up the speaker. So there's a couple options. Here's the video. You can turn it on, turn it off. Again, you can pick your virtual background right here. Video settings. We have security, which is locking the meeting, so you can lock everyone out. Nobody else can be in there. You can also enable the waiting room if you haven't. And this is where you can let participants share their screens. You can let them chat. You can let them rename themselves, or you can take those things away from them if you want to. Then we have our participants. So this is where you see your whole list of participants. Nobody else is in here right now when I made this recording, so you can't see anybody else, but this is a place where you can check. You can mute participants. You can turn your videos off if you're the host. You can also make other people co-hosts to your event, and that lets them have
more power.
I have absolute power.
Yes. All right. I really want to focus on the screen share, so I'm going to let Michelle kind of take it from here.
So you can screen share almost anything on your computer during a Zoom call. The exception to that really is Zoom itself. So Izzy had to create these wonderful videos in another setting because you can't see all the functionality on a screen share. Zoom assumes that you don't want to see Zoom functionality during a Zoom call, which is fair, unless you're trying to teach people how to use Zoom. So, but you're seeing here, when you click into that screen share button, you're seeing that it's going to ask you about options. So what do you want to show people? If you've got, for example, a PowerPoint that you want to share and you open the PowerPoint on your desktop, it will give you an option to show just that PowerPoint so that you don't see all the, do you see all the desktop things that are happening behind? You can see that the videos that we were watching are there. If you clicked into just the PowerPoint that you wanted to open, it would only show that on the screen. Something important to note here, and I think we're going to see it momentarily, is that there are two little boxes on the bottom left of the screen. Look, so you can only show a portion of the screen. That's pretty awesome.
You can share just music or
just music if you're like going to play some music for people.
And if you're doing a presentation, say more in the classroom type setting, you can share content. Or if you're doing like a hybrid meeting where some people are in person and some people are remote, this is a great way to share like what's maybe being broadcast on the screen in the meeting room.
These boxes on the bottom are important. If you're doing, again, a PowerPoint presentation and it's got some sound elements in it, you need to click that little box on the bottom left or you won't be able to hear anything at all. So if your PowerPoint has a music that plays over video clips or whatever, you need to click that or people won't hear it. And the other option is to optimize your screen share so that your video clip won't be pixelated or what have you.
So if you are sharing video, you definitely want to click that. But a lot of times I'm not sharing video.
Another fun fact about screen share is that if you are a host or a co-host, you will have the ability to actually take screen share power away from each other. So let's say I had something that I wanted to share with you right now. I could go in and actually take control of the screen share if Izzy forgot to take screen share down. So that's cool because otherwise you spend a lot of your meetings saying things like, can you stop sharing so that I can share? So you can just seamlessly take control of the meeting if you're co-hosting with someone else.
Yeah, that's a great one. That's a good tip. Here's where you can record. So you get your options: record to this computer, record to the cloud. Something I'm just going to touch on like real quick. There's something called Breakout Rooms. This is only for a paid account. This is when you have a big group of people and then you can separate them in little pods of breakout rooms. So it's really self-explanatory. You can choose how many rooms. So say we've got 10 people. I want two rooms of 5. I'll do this. And then if you choose automatically, it randomly assigns everybody to a room, which can be fun for conversation. Or you can choose manually, so you can actually decide who's in what. So if you're a teacher and you're teaching a class and you've got 20 some people in it, you want to do breakout rooms to maybe let individuals talk to each other or work in pairs. There's not really a limit on how many rooms you can make. There probably is, but the upper threshold is pretty high.
Didn't you use breakout rooms for a trivia night?
I did a trivia night, and there was 50 of us in the trivia group. We were all randomly assigned to teams, and then they pushed us into these meeting rooms for 2 minutes in the breakout rooms. So they'd ask a question, and then we'd all go to a breakout room, and you'd only talk to the people in your team, and then you end up back in the main room. So that's another fun use for fun. It can be even with family. If you're going to try and play games, you could actually create teams and do it that way.
There are not breakout rooms in the free version, unfortunately. It's a licensed function. Another note about breakout rooms is that as the host, you have the ability to force people out of a breakout room, or you can move them around while they're in. So you could just spontaneously move someone from room to room 5 in the middle of a conversation, or if 4 of 5 people leave breakout room 2 and there's one person sitting in there alone, you can reassign them to another room so that they can still be part of a conversation. There's a lot of flexibility inside those rooms. The host can also broadcast to all rooms simultaneously. For example, for a trivia night, you could be typing questions in and all the rooms would get them at the same time. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of cool stuff with those breakout rooms.
Yes.
All right. Then reactions, which we saw, you could choose your skin tone in the other area. And really you just have a applause and a thumbs up, which works well if you don't want to bother people. Another paid function, you can stream live from Zoom into a platform. So Facebook, Instagram, I think YouTube, and then you can also set up a custom stream. So this is definitely more advanced, I would say, in the expert level. But we, the Kiki Queens, we've been doing Speed Drag Showdown on Friday nights. And so we do it on Facebook Live, but we are actually meeting on a Zoom meeting like this. And then I push it up to Facebook Live, and then everybody can view it on Facebook Live. So it's a fun feature if you want to do that type of work, but it's definitely a more expert level advanced. We'll call it super advanced user. And then we all know what the end button does. And because I'm the meeting host, it gives me the option to leave the meeting. So that's just me leaving the meeting, or I can end the meeting for everyone. If I choose to leave the meeting without ending it for everyone, it's going to ask me who I want to assign to be the host of the meeting. So if I didn't have any co-hosts and it was just my meeting, well, for instance, every time we have a family call, I like to dip out before everybody else. So when I click leave meeting, I then assign it to my mom. And she can choose to exit the meeting whenever she wants, but it works out well because I pay for the account, but then they can stay on as long as they want. They aren't beholden to that 40-minute time limit because they have free accounts. So that's a good way to do it. If somebody has a free account, let them host it first and then let them jump off, and then you can just stay on their account. Yeah. And I feel like we flew through that. There's so much information and we packed it in so tight, and I know I was talking fast. If you're on a work account, be careful, maybe practice on a free account. If you're in some sort of shared account, just be very mindful that you could be erasing other people's meetings. So just be careful of that. But I don't have that problem because I don't share my account with anyone. But I know Michelle works on a work account, so there's multiple people in there. But thank you for telling us we did a good job. It was fun for me. I hope it was fun for everyone. I think everything's a little more fun when you have drag queens and purple hair.
Purple hair day at my house.
Because and everything doesn't have to be so serious all the time. Yeah, I think that's it for me. Thanks so much to the Center in Halstead for, inviting us to come be part of this and do this. I hope people actually found it really useful.
Me too.
I hope you guys found it useful and entertaining and educational. And yeah, so check out the Cyber Center. Keep your eye on what they're doing. There's all sorts of events. If you haven't, you can go to their website and sign up for their newsletter list, and they have all sorts of fun virtual things happening. So definitely check out other events. Awesome. I love it. So we're going to say goodbye. So thank you again.